Hello. Welcome to the Unconventional Truth podcast. My name is April Hagler Jackson, and today I'm going to tell you probably the reason for the name of the Unconventional Truth podcast, but also my own personal unconventional truth. This has been years in the making, and I'm going to explain why I was born April but likely will die Adam. And it's not what you think. So, let's get into it. Let me set the stage. This whole adventure started for me after I had my child. I had my daughter, and basically she was born in 2019. In 2022, I had started to notice some pretty major changes with my body. And granted, it was a really stressful time. We had just all emerged from COVID. There were so many reasons that it could have been anything else. But one of the biggest things is that my hair fell out, not just quickly, almost expeditiously. Like, I went from having full head of hair for the most part to almost bald in under a year. So, how the heck does that happen in someone who is female? Because there's just not that many situations in that when that would occur. So I had some genetic testing done to figure out where the heck this hair loss was coming from. I still have to follow up because I will be having a biopsy done to determine if I have an autoimmune condition as well. I likely have multiple reasons for not having hair and multiple reasons why I will not have hair again. But in this case, I likely have 3 different conditions which cause my body to make and run on testosterone, not estrogen. So because of that, and because of the conditions that I'm going to explain, I'm technically intersexed. I am not male and I am not female. I am the embodiment of Pat. Oh, Lord. Like, of all the SNL skits that I did not want to associate with, it would be that one. But anyway, so the 3 conditions that I have would be congenital adrenal hyperplasia, which basically means that my adrenal glands make testosterone. I don't make estrogen. Or at least not as my default androgen is testosterone. I have what is called a WNT4, a Müllerian anomaly, which basically influences the structure of my reproductive organs. For me, this is not that. It's a spectrum. All these are on a spectrum, and I'm likely at the not severely affected, because if I was, I would have known much sooner. So we are looking at this as being on the less severe spectrum of all of these, and I want to make sure that I stress that. The third is going to be androgen receptors, so DHT sensitivity, which is why my hair left the chat expeditiously. That's why it said, "We're done. It's been real. Goodbye." So for me, this is going to mean that my life will start off female. I will become somebody's mom, and then I will transition medically, not by my own choice, because it is happening to me. I'm going to have a full beard and look like a guy, probably within 5 to 10 years, which is a lot. So for me, because my body, because of these 3 syndromes working in together, I will likely, and I've already started to see those changes. Let me just stress that. I have already started to see my face change, my body shape change. A lot of things on my physical self have changed since I had a child. So if you're wondering what the heck does intersex mean, for every person that is technically intersex because of an intersexing condition, it's different, okay? For me, what this means is that genetically speaking, if you pulled my karyotype, I am genetically female. However, I had, if you were looking at my operating system, If you were like I'm like an Android running iOS. Yeah. So, my hormone profile is of a man. So, basically, what's happening is baseline hormones are testosterone for me. That's not normal. Most women, it's estrogen, right? My body doesn't make that, it makes testosterone. So, what ends up happening is when I was making estrogen, life was good. I could balance it. My facial features and everything were softer. As this process has started to unfold, that is changing. So now, as my estrogen levels drop because I'm in menopause or I'm heading into menopause, this usually is more abrupt in people that are intersexed. Basically, it's going to default to testosterone. The one thing is that I feel is truly miraculous about all this is that I carried and had a child, and I likely would not have been able to have another one. So it's kind of a good thing. Most people that have these variations are not able to have kids, which also explains why we did have a lot of trouble having kids. We also, I also struggled with certain parts of pregnancy, especially the diabetes part. Also likely from this. And there's a chance that me being intersex contributed to a birth defect that my child has. And that's kind of a harder pill for me to swallow as a mom. Like, I can't help but feel a little bit like it's my fault. It's not, but I still feel like it. So basically, the only fully female thing about me is my karyotype, and that is that I have XX. Otherwise, if I had XY, I would have been a dude from the jump. I mean, obviously, but I have the operating system of a man. So basically, for me, I am not biologically male and I am not biologically female. I am a literal variant on my own. Like, I am both. Which explains a whole lot, because for me, I have felt, and this is probably because of the changes I'm experiencing, I have felt more pulled towards masculine stuff, but I don't feel fully there either. And I know how confusing that is for a lot of other people. Like, my spouse is like, so what is happening now? I'm like, I'm just going to fill you in, okay? But the truth of the matter is that, yeah, now that I'm starting to see these changes, I do feel less feminine. And so when I put on feminine clothes, it doesn't feel right. Wearing men's clothes actually looks better and fits better, and it just is, probably more so because I'm starting to express more masculine traits because of this situation I'm in. So, what has it been like living between two genders? It's kind of like rock and a hard place. I've never really identified as either. And that's a weird thing. But I have always been more of a masculine girl. I was a tomboy. I wanted to have short hair. I wasn't allowed to. I preferred boy clothes. I actually had boy clothes that I wore on the weekends. And I had girl clothes I had to wear during the week. But I didn't feel very, I don't know if it was just, it could have just been a sensitivity thing that I didn't like wearing dresses and stuff. But it never really felt right. But I can't, I don't know. I did feel some jealousy towards my brother being able to express his gender, because I felt very similar to him in many ways, but I wasn't really allowed to express that because I was supposed to be a girl. And I never really felt fully female, but I never really felt fully male. As time has gone on, I've leaned more into the masculinity, but it's also happening. Like, I can't stop it. It's happening. So it's kind of like this really slow transition that I don't have a choice. Like, this is not, it's happening. It's like, it's happening. This is happening whether I'm ready for it or not. And sometimes it's kind of hard to deal with because I feel like I've always been in this ever-changing puberty. That's really probably the best way to describe it, is that I've never had a time when my body wasn't evolving because of, or if I do, it's only for a short amount of time. So like most people go through puberty, but if you think about it, is like my even throughout my cycle, as things drop, because they do, your hormones fluctuate when you're female. When that happens, I feel a much more like a stronger situation. And it's largely because of these variations that I have. Yeah, I've been kind of dealing with a lot of this, and like at first, like I feel like I could care less about the pronoun situation of it. But I also realize that, you know, part of this is it's not really my fault, but it's going to be hard for people to wrap their heads around, and I understand that. And this is going to be as slow as it can be, but just know that I am not in control of it. So yeah, that's the part that sucks, is it's like I kind of feel like this is happening to me, not my choice. But then again, life in general has been kind of happened to me. Hasn't always been my choice. The freight train that's coming, and there's really not a lot I can do to stop it. So as I head into menopause and my estrogen starts to fall, I'm going to see some massive changes. The hair falling out was just the first step, and this is basically what I would have been had I been born male. I probably would have lost most of my hair anyway, because I'm my father's son, I guess. I don't know. My dad didn't have a lot of hair either. But yeah, as this happens, I'm going to start to look more physically masculine. And there's nothing, like I said, there is not a thing I can do to stop this. This is my biology, and this is just the reality I live in. I am not taking any kind of testosterone. This is what my body makes on its own. But my shoulders have already started to broaden. That has already started. And my muscle definition, like my face, is less, it's less feminized. It's starting to shift. I'm starting to look more like my brother. Likely what's going to happen next is I will have a beard. I have the genes for a full fucking beard. If you knew my father, you would know that I would probably going to have a full fucking beard. And I'm going to look a lot like him. So it's going to be kind of creepy. Graham Little is also in play. So the, autoimmune alopecia that I have is likely called Graham-Little Picardi-Lessor syndrome. I'm basically waiting for me to have my insurance cards because my company just switched. That's a whole nother podcast for a whole nother day. But once I get those, I got to go do a biopsy of my scalp because I likely have LPP and I likely have Graham-Little syndrome. Graham-Little is going to take all of my body hair except for a beard. So my body hair is already starting to fall out. I'm just going to be a walking awkward hot mess in a bit. But because I'm going to look overtly male within probably 5 to 10 years, like I will have a full fucking beard and no hair like a guy, I will likely end up changing my name. And it's not necessarily because I identify as such. It's because it is going to get to a point that this is not going to make sense unless I do so. So the name that I have picked is Adam. And the reason why I picked that name is because April and Adam have very similar meanings. So it is literally the male equivalent of April. April is like spring to open, and Adam is also spring or the first male. So, and kind of I'm the first of my own kind. I don't know how common having 3 different intersexing mutations would be, but I feel like I might be the only one. So, yeah. I probably also will, for me, this is going to be a much more straightforward process than it would be if I was trans, and that is because this is a biological condition that is going to happen to me. This is not necessarily something that I'm going to be able to stop. So, yeah. As far as with my spouse is adjusting. I don't expect everybody to understand this right away. And this isn't politics. This is biology. This is endocrinology. And the reason that I feel this way about this particular part is that if we are related, if we're family and you're listening to this, I don't care if you call me April. I am literally going to probably legally change my name to Adam, because it's going to get to a point where it's going to be fucking awkward, bud. You know? So if you've known me as April, you can continue to call me April, and that's fine. It's just know that this process that I'm about to go through is not one of my choice, and it is something that unfortunately I'm going through, and it's hard for me sometimes too. It's not necessarily something that I've wanted to do. With it being something that's happening to me, it changes the dynamic of it. So just know that I did get to pick my name, but I would have rather just gone through regular menopause. Let's put it that way. You know, I mean, I don't really want to do this, but it's happening, and I may as well just embrace the suck, because it's going to suck. And I'm hoping that because this is such a biological thing, that there's nothing I can do to stop it. Maybe people will understand that there are other people out there in the similar condition or in a similar situation that are powerless to stop how their body reacts to something. And maybe we should all have a little bit more kindness about it. So, why am I talking about this? I'm talking about this because intersex people get brushed off, glossed over a lot. There's a lot of stereotypes. And there's a lot of people who don't realize that they are intersex until, like me, when they have massive changes towards the middle age stage of life. When my body was making estrogen full time, I didn't have such a shift. But the other thing about this for me is you can be your authentic self, and that's fine. Doesn't necessarily mean it's a political statement. I also realize, though, that it's going to be hella awkward when I have a full fucking beard and I show up to TSA and they're like, your name is April? Like, okay, I get that. I get that it's going to look like I'm cosplaying. And that's also why I'm talking about it, because inevitably I'm going to have to change my identifying gender, whether I want to or not, because I'm not going to want to have the same TED Talk with every Tom, Dick, and Harry out there. Like, I'm going to want to have to just get through life. And it might not be the most conventional thing, and it's also the reason that people like me should speak up, because there are so many differences in gender identity, and it's just not talked about. And it should be, because there's nothing that I could have done to stop this. There's nothing that I did wrong. There's nothing that I can do to change it. And the reason for it is why I've felt so wrong for my whole life. And it explains more than it hurts. And I'm glad that I finally have the language to explain why I've felt the way that I've felt, and why things for me have been inherently different, from relationships to how I experience life. Not very many people can live socially as a woman and then as a man, and neither of them being their choice. So, I literally wouldn't have picked female from the jump, but I adjusted, and I probably will do the same when I become a guy, when that happens, when I start to show outward androgen signs as menopause happens. But it's one of those where I live between the lines. There's really not much more to it. I will be following up with endocrinology, yikes, because I'm probably going to have to get on meds for diabetes because of this. And this is why I'm diabetic already. And that's the other part of it too, is there's not a whole lot of shame in it, because, well, can blame my biology for all this. But yeah, it's one of those things that I'm glad that I finally have the answers, even though I know that they're kind of difficult to understand. And I also will have the ability to explain this stuff as it happens to me. Because if if we go back in time, you know what I mean? Like in 5 years, could replay this moment right here and be like, remember when I still looked like this and I didn't look like a linebacker. Like, remember that? Yeah. So, I mean, I can't deny that I've always kind of not fit into either binary, because even with deciding if I was going to, like, because I thought about the fact that I possibly could be trans and kind of came out like, hey, I'm going to try Adam. And I didn't think I was going to have mutations that would be the reason for all this. I thought I was going to be, that was going to be normal. It usually is, you know. So, but it explains why the trans label didn't really fit either. So, I'm kind of my own situation. So, but, yeah. And I'm not, I know that things are going to get awkward and people are going to feel different feelings, but just know that your feelings are also valid, and my feelings of the fact that this isn't my choice are also valid, because it's not. I would rather just stay as I was with hair, but it's not happening. So I just got to roll with it. And yeah, I probably will start to dress more masculine, because that's literally what fits me now. I'm going to just start looking at myself as a body that I have to dress, and wherever that fits is where it's going to be. Also explains when my feet got bigger, but yeah. So that's my unconventional truth. And I hope that in a few years I have a much more profound perspective of being somebody that has lived both as a man and a woman, not by choice, and that becomes my unconventional truth. I also am trying to adjust to the name Adam, because you can't just switch your name like overnight and have that like be functional for you. So that is why on TikTok I've started to go by Adam. It's really so I can condition myself for these changes coming up as well. So with that, I'm going to let you know that I hope you have a wonderful day. My name is Adam Jackson.